to Wealth for Real YouTube channel, live session. Your host, Christopher Anastasio. Had to jump on a live, guys, kind of running around doing some errands and taking care of some things for a long weekend, special weekend coming up. But I really had to get on here and make a couple comments in light of political stuff going on. I mean, obviously, you have a Democrat National Convention on the heels of the Republican one in July, and sort of microeconomically, the revision to the jobs estimate that came out, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics downward revising jobs by like 818,000, I think it was, or something like that. It was in the low 800,000s. So I just had to jump on here and comment about it. You have the second largest revision either in history or since the 2008 recession. I forget which one, but there was definitely a huge one when we were coming out of, I think it was like late 2008 or something like that, maybe early 2009, somewhere around there. There was a big revision to jobs data that was very unwelcome news at the time. Obviously, it was a very dark time economically for the country. Here you have, a year, basically, we're 2/3 of the way through the year of the administration touting economic growth and job growth and all this stuff, and look how many jobs we created every month, and Wall Street kind of puffing itself up over that jobs data over and over again, month over month. And then all of a sudden, here comes, and by the way, interestingly, a delayed report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I think typically it would have dropped at like 10 a.m. or 8 a.m., something like that, but it came out hours later in the day. It probably had nothing to do with the fact that the DNC convention was going on or something like that. I mean, if you ask me, the delay was on purpose, is my point. But anyway, so they dropped this revision, knocking nearly 1 million jobs off the data. Somewhere on Twitter, I saw somebody saying something like, they always knew it was bullshit. It was just, they count like, I think, births and deaths or something. So they make an assumption like, X number of people were born, X number of people died, net that number, and then X percent of that number got a job or something like that. I guess that was the inference, is that they use births and deaths to like add to that number or to puff that number up. But anyway, so they knock 1 million jobs off the records. And it's like, I mean, guys, if you need another reminder, if you need reminder number 17,488, I don't know, whatever number you're on personally, that we're being bullshitted, we're being lied to, the data at best, shiny, polished best, the data is garbage. The data is complete fucking bullshit. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is it's a lie. It's a fabricated number to create short-term effects in the markets, in the economic flow of things, that they always know they'll come back later and revise it, because revisions get shoved under the table, right? The jobs data that comes out every first Friday of the month, I think it is, the Friday morning, first Friday, that gets big headlines. But the revisions, they get tucked in behind it. Maybe not even mentioned, depending on the source and when you're watching and stuff like that. So I'm just here on that point. I don't want to belabor it, pardon the pun. I don't want to belabor it, but the bottom line, guys, is the numbers are BS. Nowhere near that number of jobs had been created. We now know that to be the case. We now know that it was at least 818,000 too many. And this is standard, guys. This isn't a Biden-Harris thing if you don't like them. This isn't it only happens when Republicans are in office. This is the way the government has been reporting this data for decades. I forget, there was some year, like somewhere along the way, where they started switching the way they reported different kinds of economic data, like inflation. They dropped things out of the inflation number so the inflation would look better. I mean, it probably happened decades ago. Let's call it that, right? So this has been going on for a long time, and Republican administrations oversee it, and Democrat administrations oversee it. It just so happens right now it's been Biden and Harris bullshitting you and me. 4 years ago, it was Trump and Pence bullshitting you and me. And so, guys, that just leads to my next point, which is, and I don't know who needs to hear this. Hopefully, if you are listening to this right now, or whenever you watch this, you already know this, but I have to say it, guys, and I'm going to say it a lot. I'm going to say it more and more, because I feel like I need to hear it as well. I need to keep telling myself this. Here's the breaking news, guys. I'm going to drop a shocker on you. You ready? We don't live in a republic. We don't live in a democracy. We live in an oligarchy. Let me say it again. We don't live in a democracy. We don't live in a republic. We live in an oligarchy. Go look up the fucking definition of oligarchy. Okay? Power is held by a small group of people. And don't think small like 3 people. I'm not talking like that kind of conspiratorial type stuff. But small can be hundreds. It could be thousands in a country of 330 million, right? A small group of people who hold power, whether it be political power, wealth, moneyed power, any of those types of things. Okay, I mean, it could come from politics. It could come from just sheer wealth. Like Bezos, for example, would be a candidate for being part of the oligarchy. I mean, with the kind of donations that he can make to politicians and things like that. Carlos, I totally agree. Thanks, Carlos. I appreciate it, man. It's good to hear resonance coming back on this subject, because I just don't see anybody really talk about it too much, or specifically use that word. There's a lot of people who talk about this whole setup is a sham, for sure. I rarely hear the word oligarchy, but I encourage you guys, if you're skeptical, or I had to go look the word up again. I knew generally what it meant, but I really wanted to see precisely what it meant. And if you go to Wikipedia, that's where I got it from. It talks about people who have power in their particular sphere, and this conglomeration of individuals is where the power sits in the governmental structure. So that's an oligarchy, guys, and that's what you live in. Okay, that's what you live in. Carlos, live in Mexico. Awesome, man. I've thought about fleeing to Mexico City with my family, so hope that's not a bad thing from your perspective, but it's tempting. So, as well as other places around the globe that I've talked to my family about. But anyway, the point is, guys, so we live in an oligarchy. It's all bullshit. They're pulling the strings. They're yanking on the strings. And it's just, you can see right through it. Okay? Like, I've gotten into the habit now of actually combining. I'd seen this a long time ago, and then I stopped doing it. But actually, I've combined the two names of the parties. So instead of Republicans and Democrats, it's Republicrats. It actually works better than the other one, Demicans or something like that, I think. I've seen that one, but the one I've seen the most is Republicrats. So the Republicrats are putting on another sham election to make us feel like we're making a choice. But it's the oligarchy that sits in power, leeches off the host, and continues to feed itself and cater to its own interests. And that's it. And that's the way it goes, guys. And, I am going to pound this message into as much content as I can. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm all over. I mean, I'm probably tweeting about that 1 out of every 2 times. But I really, it's disgusting. It's nauseating. It's hilarious sometimes. It's absolutely hilarious. Like when you see this whole sham unfold right before you, and you can see right through it. You know exactly what's going on. You know exactly what they're doing. You know exactly why they're saying what they're saying. You know exactly why different headlines are coming out the way they're coming out and stuff like that. You know exactly what this stupid ass bullshit data that they put out is meant to do or to achieve. And you just see right through it. So that's kind of where I am right now, guys. I had to jump on and talk quickly about, unfortunately, I can't spend too much time on this live, but I want to jump on and talk about the Bureau of Labor and Statistics data that came out. That was just horrendous. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, there was a really funny clip at the DNC where like the Secretary of like Commerce or something, or the Treasury, I forget who it was. It wasn't Treasury because that's Yellen still. But somebody who has dominion over this, they actually asked the person, they asked her like live right there at the DNC. They were like, hey, there's a jobs revision by $1 million. And she, I mean, not $1 million, 1 million jobs. And she immediately thought it was like Trump propaganda. And she was like, I don't believe anything Trump says. And they were like, no, this is from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. And she was like, I don't know anything about that. Now, I think people have harped on her. They think she meant, I don't know about the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. I don't think that's what she meant. I think she meant, I don't know anything about the revision. So let's be fair about that. I'm sure she knows the BLS exists. I mean, let's hope for that much. But I think she was saying, I don't know about the report. So, okay, well, That's pretty bad too, because it sounds like something you should know about, especially since they were cooking up those books for the last year. So you probably do know about the report and you're just being political. But anyway, so there's a really funny clip of that going around on Twitter. If you guys are out there, you've probably seen it by now. But that kind of punctuated the BLS's news release, and kind of just, it just underscored the inanity of the whole matter. But then against the backdrop, I had to make that larger comment to you guys. I feel like I haven't done it enough on my YouTube content. I've really just been doing it on Twitter. But breaking news, guys. If you're living in the United States, you live in an oligarchy. Okay, go look it up. I mean, you can't unsee it. If you read the definition, I'll give it to you. I'll give you, in fairness, if you got to brush up on the definition like I had to, maybe you're going to be like, you're wrong, Chris. But once you go read the definition, if you come back and tell me that we're not living in an oligarchy because you walk to a ballot box and you pull a fucking lever, then I put you in a category with the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and all that kind of stuff. That's where you go. Because if somebody can read that definition, come back to me and say, "Oh, we live in a democracy. No, we live in a republic," I'm just going to laugh my ass off. I mean, I'm just not going to be able to keep a straight face. So look for more of that from me, guys. I'll expand on that, point out different ways that I see it sort of operating. I mean, the oligarchy, it's not, it's not a single person making decisions. So it's not super constantly coordinated, but it is just, where does the power in the country lie? You just ask yourself that question. Forget the conspiracies, forget the back rooms, forget the cigar-filled, basements, forget the conspiracy stuff. Just think to yourself, where does the power lie in this country? Because even though you go vote every 4 years, what happens in between the 4 years? Nothing good for you. I mean, and if you think something good is happening for you, then, your level of delusion is just pegged out. Okay? On the whole, nothing good is happening for you. And you should know this. You should be aware of this. You should have picked up on this by now. So it looks like you have power every 4th November. And then the other 4 years, you just get fucked. And you know it. I mean, you know it. You just might not want to admit it. And you get fucked no matter who's in there. I mean, if you voted for the person in there and that's your guy or your gal, they're fucking you. You just won't admit it, because then you got to say I voted for the wrong person. If it's the other guy, it's easy to say, oh, they're fucking me. I'm getting fucked, So I typically don't swear this much on here, but this subject really fires me up. So anyway, so yeah, I'm going to hammer this subject, guys. I'm going to come back to this a lot. But anyway, in the meantime, guys, you get back to some stuff here. Carlos, I really enjoyed getting a chance to connect with you here, and that you joined the live. I really appreciate it. Everybody who joins the live, likes, comments, subscribes, shares, the 118, I think is the last I looked, subscribers that I have. The fact that there's 118 people who want to hear what I have to say is pretty flattering and very humbling. So I really, really appreciate that, guys. If you drop a comment, I will always respond to any comment or question you put in there, 100% of the time, and usually within about 24 hours. I try not to leave them there for too long. So appreciate you guys checking in on the live, whether you watched it live or whether you're watching us later. Carlos, have a great day, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off, guys. Hope everybody has a great start to, I guess, the final full weekend in August. So, all right, guys, have a good one.